Welcome back to BaldHeaded Metal, guys, and welcome back to another Meshuggah reaction, and it's been a while. Those who have followed my other Meshuggah reactions, I evolved from a band that I did not understand to a band that I ultimately became a fan of and started enjoying albums like Obzen and Immutable. So I thought it's time to actually come back and discover more of their older discography, a song you guys recommended to me a while back, which was Clockworks. I'm going to jump into it and see what it's about. Can't see I'm the aficionado of Meshuggah. I understand everything about them, but I've come to enjoy their very unique style of gent kind of playing. Those who are new to this channel, I do express myself 100% what I enjoy, what I don't enjoy, but I do it for the sake of conversation and how I personally feel about the music rather than like an outright criticism of an artist, because I think it makes it for more interesting reaction. And if you enjoy that, make sure to subscribe down below for more. Without any further ado, let's get into it. It's true what it's always been true about this band. It was a really big barrier for me to enter this band and start enjoying it because I've gotten so used to the traditional way of writing music that when I heard this band and somebody gave this example to me that the guitars in Meshuggah are percussion instruments. And after that particular comment, it started making a lot more sense. But this thing that with the drum, it doesn't sound like it's in the same rhythm with the guitars, but it is matching. And it's how sometimes Thomas will play one rhythm on the feet, another one on the hands. The complexity of it all, it just makes me feel like I'm trying to bang my head, right? And you can't always catch the rhythm of it, which is why I think Obs and Immutable are much easier. There's a lot more clear rhythms for me to get into. This is like a more advanced, I would say, Meshuggah sound. But I've learned to really appreciate their uniqueness if I don't always like the particular song. I've known about myself. I'll keep coming back to it multiple times over the years until it does click, sort of like Bleed did for me eventually. It's so impressive to see him play because, you know, I'm not a drummer. I can't explain all the intricacies, but I think on an intuitive level, somebody watching this video who's not a drummer but is a fan of music, you know something is different, and you can't point a finger to it because you're not a professional, but you know it's just something is not what you typically hear with your ears, which I think for a lot of people becomes the intrigue of this band. And I almost got to a point with Meshuggah when I listened to them. It feels like a tribal chant sometimes, you know? That's what it feels like. You're almost like when you get into this kind of like meditative state. Especially when I've listened to the new album, which I've listened to a lot. I've really enjoyed it. I'm sure it was a much more accessible album in comparison to a lot of their stuff. And Obzin as well. The one that was still hard for me is Catch 33, which I did a full album reaction to, along with the Obzin and Immutable. But that it's a difficult album for me to get into. Perhaps in a couple more years of me really soaking in all the Meshuggah stuff, I'll try to come back to it and see how I feel about it then. And perhaps it's never an album I will actually enjoy, but it's always interesting where bands want to take their sound, and a sound that which I would think would on paper be like, oh, this is a hard sell, and end up becoming their strongest feature, right? That is distinction in the band that they've created. Oh my god. Yeah, it feels like alien music. I love it. I love the sound of this particular song. I can't say it captures my attention sort of like Bleed or Light the Shortening Fuse does, where it's like this is just like this immediate internal reaction to those songs. Like, oh, this is just, it hit me so hard. It's like it gave me goosebumps when I heard those songs. Whereas here, I'm already understanding like how good this is, but my body's like fighting it a little bit because I'm still, getting used to this kind of band and its style. But Thomas Hake is just a phenomenal drummer, and not to mention the guitars. I like this kind of almost like sci-fi, like 80s sci-fi music guitar tone, like this kind of weird feeling, like a alien is creeping through. For me, it's like the emotional counterpart was interesting, and what they're trying to create about how you're supposed to feel when you're listening to it. That's what I've started to appreciate the most about Meshuggah, those kinds of feelings. And I think the drum playthroughs are really cool to watch because you kind of see a master at play. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons I gave Meshuggah another chance way back when is my favorite comedian is Bill Burr, and he happens to also drum. And he was introduced to Meshuggah, and he was just like praising Meshuggah. He's like, "Oh my god, I could not believe!" Like, and I was like, "Really?" It's like, a person that you appreciate also happens to listen to heavy metal and praises the band. Let me give him another chance. And then you guys started recommending me stuff. You were patient enough with me to kind of guide me along in the journey, which became just really, really cool. And I love that they come back to that same drumming part, but now the guitar part is different. And another thing that took me a long time to realize with Meshuggah is how much groove the band has. With all this technicality, they sometimes have just an immense amount of grooviness in their music, which to me is very attractive. I love like groove metal, groove heavy metal, metalcore. Lamb of God, the reason I like him so much is for that reason. There's just so many elements I think that's being pulled into this band, but at the same time, my personal opinion, again, of course, fans are going to disagree. Perhaps the band's success is going to disagree, but I feel it's a more niche band in the sense that it's a musician's kind of a band. Like musicians just probably appreciate it so much. How many reactions of Bleed I saw, how like drummers were just like pouring over how good it was. But for somebody who just purely listens to the music, it's a different interpretation. I always wonder when I saw a drum teacher react to something from Thomas Hake, is like, do they just appreciate the skill, or do they actually also like the music? Because for me, no matter how technical somebody is, no matter anything, always been music first. And if at the end of the day you ask me the question, would I play this song again, or would I put this on repeat? I would like my answer to be yes, and that's when I know I like something. Actually, the new Lamb of God, that's been kind of the case for me. I've been just re-listening to it just nonstop. Lorna Shore, the new album, I've been really into. And with Meshuggah, it's definitely a battle for me to enjoy this band. It's something me and my brother talked about recently, that there's sometimes a band you keep coming back to for years because you know it's special. You just know, but you're either not in the mood, you're not ready, you haven't maybe progressed mentally to a certain state to appreciate it. And once I hit Bleed, I forgot at one point what had happened. That's what really just kind of like made me want to discover more of the band. And I've been slowly dipping my fingers in the water of Meshuggah. This is quite impressive. Yeah, I definitely come away with this song. I like it. I can't say I love it as much as the songs I mentioned before, but I am impressed with what I'm hearing. Kind of like just how, like I feel like I have a slither more of an understanding of what this band stands for and start to enjoy, appreciate it, and like it. But also, I'm definitely feeling kind of held within my boundaries of what I'm used to. And I'm trying to, for example, introduce my brother to it, and he has exactly the same reaction that I had in the beginning. So I kind of see myself from the other side through him. And it's like, it's this understanding this band is just trying to do something completely different. it's not trying to be Metallica or some like, you know, a more stereotypical death metal band. It has like a mission of what it's trying to do, and because nobody really does it the way they do, even other bands like Ginger and stuff like that, nobody really does it the way they do it. I mean, they popularized the genre. It becomes this thing that people come into and like, hey, this is the only place I can get this fill. But I know myself, I'm going to be listening to this song on my own many, many times to see how my opinion like goes from just the appreciation and enjoyment of particular riffs to just an absolute kind of like, oh, I really love this. I do like the more groovy side of Meshuggah, like, again, Bleed, Shall I Do? I mean, I would say most songs in Immutable, they have that grooviness to them that I really enjoy. Most songs on Obzen have that grooviness that I really, really enjoy. I do like the more streamlined sound from Meshuggah because it's still enough of familiar and enough of new things in there. Perhaps my opinion, again, will change over time, but it's nice to come back to this band and being a completely different mindset, not being so stuck in my ways, I think is already a nice progress to have. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it on that, guys, and kind of wait for you guys to put your into 2 cents and kind of how you felt about the music, and obviously on the things that I've talked about here in particular. And guys, also make sure to enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe out there and keep it metal.